I walked into the bedroom and instantly sensed that I wasn't alone. Someone was in my bed. I flicked the light switch on and got the shock of my life. Adam was sitting in my bed. Ah!
Hello, sweetheart.
I know that you want to hear more, but first, make sure that you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell too. So, my husband was alive. He came back to life. I should have been happy, right? I should have been jumping for joy out of my mind with relief, right? Well, I wasn't. I was sad. I was sad and disappointed. You see, I haven't been completely honest with you. You've probably read the title of this video and realized the truth. I tried to murder my millionaire husband. This is what actually happened. I hired someone to kill my husband. I knew there was no way I could do it myself. So I did some research and eventually I found someone who was willing to do it for me. Of course, they wanted a lot of money to do it, but that wasn't a problem. The night of the murder, I told Adam that I had to go out to do some shopping. All the time I was out, I couldn't stop thinking that Adam was about to be killed. As I drove up to the house, I saw that all the lights were off. That was a good sign. If Adam had survived, the whole house would have been lit up. I opened the kitchen door and immediately noticed the blood on the floor. I switched on the light, and there was Adam, lying on the floor with a huge knife sticking out of his back. Of course, I had to give a fake scream, just in case anyone was listening. But inside, I was so happy. I called the police and through my fake tears, I told them what had happened to Adam. It's my husband. He's been murdered.
Okay, we have an officer on the way.
As I waited for the police to arrive, I forced myself to cry. I had to make it look convincing. When the policeman saw my tears, he told me to go sit in the lounge.
I will bring you in a cup of tea.
I'd better call Adam's parents and let them know what has happened. Now, I did feel a bit sorry for Adam's dad, but when I heard his mom crying in the background, I felt nothing. I knew that she had always disliked me. She never thought I was good enough to marry her son. That's why it didn't surprise me when the police turned up the next day to arrest me. I was prepared for it because I knew that Adam's mom would accuse me. When they took me to the cell, I wasn't worried. I knew that Adam's dad would help me out. Sure enough, it didn't take long before he had paid my bail and the police let me go. It wasn't easy at Adam's funeral, though. I was surrounded by all his family and friends, and of course all eyes were on me. I had to keep pinching my own arm to force myself to shed tears. When they played Adam's favorite song, Happy, I nearly burst out laughing. Yes, I was definitely happy. After the funeral, we all went back to Adam's parents' house. Everyone was so nice and friendly with me. I was so happy that no one was suspicious of me. But the thing that made me the most happy was the time I went back to see all the homeless people that I used to hang out with. I made an excuse that I was there to ask them some questions, to see if they knew anything about Adam's murder. But really, I was just there to show off. I drove up in my luxury car, wearing designer clothes, and carrying an expensive handbag. I loved seeing the looks of jealousy on their faces.
Get out of here! You're not welcome!
I didn't care that they hated me. I got to drive away, and I had a huge grin spread across my face. They don't bother me. I have everything I want in life now. You're probably thinking pretty bad of me right now, but you don't know the whole story. You see, my relationship with Adam wasn't as lovey-dovey as you think. He was actually quite mean to me sometimes. He was always putting me down, especially when we went out to fancy restaurants. Of course, I hadn't been used to eating in places that expensive. I didn't know all about etiquette, etc. But instead of helping me to learn stuff, he just made fun of my mistakes. How to get away with murdering a millionaire 101. Or so I thought. What are you doing here?
What? No, honey. Thank God you're alive.
Yeah, of course.
Come off it, Selena. Who are you trying to kid? I knew all along that you were plotting to kill me.
I started to panic. I could feel the fear rising up inside of me. What? No, I mean...
Don't even bother. You'll be wasting your breath. I overheard you talking to your hitman. Once I found out who he was, I just offered to pay him more money than you were paying him. He agreed to pretend to kill me, but instead, he used a fake body and fake blood.
What? How could you do such a thing?
Because I wanted to catch you red-handed.
I hate you.
Do you really think that I care? My mom was right about you. You're just a money-grabbing gold digger.
Oh, you're such a mommy's boy, aren't you? Suddenly, I heard the sound of cars pulling into our driveway. I ran downstairs. I knew that I had to get away, but Adam was right behind me.
Don't think you're getting away with this, because you're not.
He opened the front door, and the house was immediately filled with policemen.
Hands up! You're under arrest.
I was surrounded. My only chance of escape was through the back kitchen, but Adam was blocking the way. I decided to take my chance. I lunged at Adam and started punching him. He really went crazy. I put my hands around his throat and squeezed and squeezed. His face turned bright red and his eyes started bulging. Suddenly, I felt someone grab me from behind and I fell to the floor. 2 seconds later, handcuffs were being put on my wrists.
That's enough from you, young lady. You're coming with us.
I could hear Adam gasping for breath.
Keep her away from me. She's crazy.
Crazy for ever marrying you, yeah!
I can't believe I ever had any feelings for you. I thought you were such a nice girl, but you are evil.
Ah! I tried to lunge at Adam again. I was so angry at that moment. But the police held me back. Adam just stood there laughing at me.
I hope you rot in jail.
The policeman took me to the station and locked me up in the cell. I was so angry. I started kicking the cell door and the walls. I picked up the lamp beside the bed and threw it at the wall, smashing it into 100 pieces. How could it all have gone so wrong? I thought I had the perfect plan. If it wasn't for that stupid, greedy human, everything would have turned out as I wanted it to. I'm not exactly sure how long they kept me in the cell awaiting my court case, but eventually the day arrived for me to face the judge. The policeman came to my cell and opened the door.
Come with us and make sure you behave yourself in court, okay?
I nodded. I had soon learned that it was useless fighting against the police. It didn't get me anywhere. The minute I walked into the courtroom, everyone stopped talking and stared right at me. I could feel their eyes following me as I walked across the room and took my place beside the judge.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. The prosecution began to describe the events leading up to Adam's fake murder. As I listened to them, I could see Adam's mom out of the corner of my eye. She was sitting there with a smug look on her face. I thought I was going to explode with rage. I hated all of them. But I managed to keep my anger in check. The last thing I needed was to lose it in the courtroom. The judge would not be happy with me at all. Eventually, it came time for the judge to give my sentence.
Stand up.
I stood up and faced the judge.
We find you guilty of the attempted murder of Adam.
Everyone in the courtroom started cheering. All of Adam's friends and family were there. All the people that told me I was family to them were now celebrating my downfall.
You are sentenced to 10 years in prison.
No!
Take her away.
So, there I was, living in a filthy, dirty prison. No one ever came to visit me. They basically left me to rot there. How did it all go wrong? So, do you think I just accepted my fate? Well, you'd be wrong. I decided that I was going to escape from the prison. I worked out a plan. I knew that there was a vulnerable time when the guards changed shifts. There was about a 2-minute window between one guard leaving and the other one arriving. I watched the guards every night for about a week. Finally, I was ready to take my chance. Just before the guards finished, I called out to them. Hey! I need to go to the bathroom.
Hold on, you will have to wait.
Oh, I can't. Please let me out now. The guard hesitated for a second, but then came and opened my door.
Okay, but be quick and make sure you come straight back here.
Of course. I ran off down to the bathroom, but instead of going inside, I waited and watched the guard. When the clock said 5 p.m., the guard put on his jacket and left the room. As soon as he was out of sight, I ran outside. I knew I had less than 2 minutes before the new guard arrived. I just kept on running and running without looking behind me. Eventually, I stopped. I did it! I couldn't believe that my plan had worked. Finally, I was free. Just to be outside in the fresh air felt so good. After that, I lay low for a while. I didn't want to rush into anything and risk getting caught. Once I felt that enough time had gone by, I started to stalk Adam. I watched as he left the house and waited until he came back again. Every day he had the same routine. I knew exactly when he would be home and when the coast would be clear. I waited until I was sure that he was home alone, and I broke into the house. I crept through the hallway towards the study where I knew Adam would be working away on his computer. He had no idea that I was creeping up behind him. By the time he realized I was there, I had his hands tied behind his back and a gag in his mouth. He looked at me in shock. What? Aren't you happy to see me? I'm going to finish you off properly. I should have done the job myself in the first place. He looked terrified. I raised the knife I had brought with me into the air, and I was about to plunge it into his heart when suddenly the door burst open and Adam's parents came running in.
Stop! Leave him alone!
What are you doing here?
We've been watching you through the CCTV cameras. We knew you were going to try and attack Adam. Put the knife down. I've already called the police. They'll be here any second.
I was so angry. I lifted the knife higher, but Adam's dad lunged at me and knocked the knife out of my hands.
Quick, tie her up.
Adam's mom came and tied my hands up with a rope.
Now, untie Adam.
Adam stood in front of me, a huge grin on his face. I knew he thought that he had beaten me, but little did he know. Oh, I think it's time we cut the act. Shall we? Adam's dad smiled at me. He lunged at Adam and his mom and tied them both up. Then he came and untied me. I stood up and gave him a big kiss. Adam and his mom looked at us in shock.
What's going on?
Oh, yeah. I guess there's something you should know. You see, me and your dad have been secretly dating the whole time. When I escaped prison, I called him and asked him for help. We came up with a plan to kill the two of you and take all the money. We are going to live an amazing life together, aren't we, darling?
Dad, is this true?
Yes, it's true. I love Selena.
But how could you do this to Mom?
I can't help who I fall in love with.
Well, let's see what the police have to say when they get here.
Oh, they won't be coming.
What do you mean?
I didn't really call them. I just pretended to speak to them.
Come on, let's not waste any more time. I picked up the can of gasoline that I had brought and poured it onto the carpet. I lit the match and threw it onto the floor. Instantly, the carpet started burning. I went to the door. Adam's dad was right behind me. Oh, you're not coming with me.
Huh?
I pushed him and he fell back onto the floor. You seriously think I want to spend the rest of my life with you, old man? Please. I shut the door and locked it behind me. I jumped into Adam's dad's Ferrari and looked to see if the bag he was supposed to bring was on the back seat. Sure enough, there it was. I opened it up. It was full of $100 bills. $100 million to be precise. Now, all I had to do was reach the border and cross to Canada. Who knew I would become an expert at getting away with murdering not just one millionaire, but 3?